Hello, everyone. Welcome to a scene of Edessa something. I know there's something behind a dark crusade or something, but there's nothing of a crusade going on right now. This is a scene between three individuals of the same clan where the lady Celine Alexandris and her child, the little Lasombra Irene Argyris, have just left the Elysium after a short meeting with the prince of the city, where they have introduced themselves to his royal princess. Irene still a little overwhelmed by the meeting, is following her sire silently as they make their way through the dark streets of Edessa. And they are on their way to visit one of their own. The Lord Orsini has invited them graciously to a private conversation in his establishment. Um, and it's there that we're gonna begin the scene with the two ladies walking up to said establishment, which will probably be described now.
The blooming rose, one of the pearls of Edessa's vivid nightlife. This, as the two ladies walk towards this house of ill repute, there is a strong scent of expensive perfume in the air. You hear music, not that foreign to you, Byzantine, but not of the cultured kind. And as you walk through the front, you are met by a small man with wearing a really large turban and rubbing his hands. And as he sees the two of you, he, you can see his eyes like turning really big, rubbing his hands. Lady, what can Abdul get for you?
We have an appointment to see your master, Lord Orsini. Celino smile.
You see his jaw literally drop. Ah, yes, yes. After me, please. And you see him walking like in really small, fast steps. And he directs you to a corridor that's away from the music and the loud noises and so on and so forth. He walks really fast towards the corridor and gets to a door. And he knocks, pushes the door open, and runs away as fast as humanly possible. And as the door creaks to the side, you see an antechamber, really poorly decorated, with a table and a bench in which you see a large, uncouth, unkempt man. He probably stinks worse than the Sombra. Sorry, than the Nosferatu.
Wow.
I meant, uh,
Well,
I meant to say the Nosferatu. Okay, retcon that. Worse than the Nosferatu. He pretty much takes up the whole bench. And he's playing with his knife intensively, and as the door opens and He acknowledges your presence. He locks eyes with you, Celine. And you see him smiling as uncourteous as possible, bearing what at first glance looks to be a full set of silver teeth. And he just grunts to you.
And she'll stand there almost to curiously kind of studying a bit more. And will, look at her child and smile, probably just like toothy grin, probably back at the man almost, and like indicating for a child to do the same almost.
And as this happens, another door opens and you see a small young girl. Oh, ladies, forgive my brother. He is rough around the edges. I'm sure you're here to see our father.
Brother, of course, yes, we are here to see him.
She leads the way to another room where you see basically quote unquote Orsini's office in front of his desk with various trinkets and baubles and stuff. There are two lavish chairs waiting for you and a single candle on said desk that surprisingly is still lit. And the young girl gestures you to come in. Please take a seat. He will be with you shortly.
Of course. And she'll sit down and indicate for her child to do the same.
Yeah, Irene will sit down as well. Look around.
And the girl exits the room and pulls the door behind her. 2 or 3 seconds pass after this, and you feel chill in the air, and the shadows growing larger. And a single shadow crawls upon the table, pours, and grasps the candlestick and the candle with it, extinguishing the light, rendering the room pretty much pitch black. And you hear this sound of thump, like someone sitting down, more like dropping down on the chair. Ladies, to what do I owe the pleasure?
Well, you have invited us, Lord Orsini. She'll smile, standing up and bowing.
There's no need for formalities, Lady Alexandris. We are not in Elysium.
Irene would have done the same as her sire stands. She would have also stood up and bowed.
I am glad to see that you have decided to honor my humble invitation. Before we get to the matters of hand, excuse the host's curiosity. What do you think of my little establishment here?
Most intriguing. I did not realize you had such a interesting family, Lord Orsini. And she'll smile.
He waits for a second or two, thinking. Ah, you met my child there. Yes, unfortunately, though uncouth and savage, Osam has proved himself to be a valuable asset to the clan. As for Zoya, she's proved her use a lot of times. She basically runs this whole establishment. So you've met my child there as well.
to nod. They seem quite the capable janitor of one such as your rank, Lord Orsini, and she smiled,
Yes. I doubt the fact that they all answered in the same manner, but still.
Effectiveness is effectiveness either way. And she'll smile, and lean back in the chair.
Besides, we have way too many scholars and ladies of the court inside the clan. We need to branch out, so to speak.
I would agree. That's why I chose. And she kind of like clicks her fingers at Irene.
Yes. Most lovely lady, might I say. I watched the two of you in Elysium. In all honesty, I do applaud your efforts, Lady Alexandris.
She smiles, inclining her head. I am glad that it impressed you, Lord Orsini.
I do believe you introduced her to Lord Benedictus.
Yes, and she performed quite admirably.
It is good to know. Orsini shifts his gaze towards Irene. So, young one, what was your impression of our dear Lord?
He was a very impressive man. I doubt words would do credit to anything of him, really. Either his age, wisdom, or power that can be felt upon entering the room alone.
Yes, I do have to admit, though it is unlike me to bring such high praise to another who is not of our clan. Prince Benedictus has proven himself time and time again as a very capable ruler, worthy of only the highest respect. But still, I digress. The matter I wish to speak to the both of you in private, unless, of course, Lady Alexandris, you have matters you would rather not discuss in front of your child.
I do not believe matters have come up yet. I think she is safe to remain. She'll smile. For now.
Forgive my lack of courtesy. And I do wish to apologize also for being bold enough as to offer my services and my assistance to your child, though I find that keeping the honor of the clan is a clan matter. And if the other members of the clan wish to help a young and upcoming member, is not necessarily an insult to their sire.
Of course not, Lord Orsini. There is no offense. Given nor taken. And she'll smile.
And also, I did not fail to notice your little condition, shall we say?
She'll smile while loosening her hair a bit. Yes, some of us have, well, prices to pay for our efforts.
Yes, I'm fully aware of that. Your issue is not unlike my own, though mine manifests more vividly. Yet I do not look at it as a flaw. I wear it as a badge of honor.
She nod.
Perhaps I may have dulled senses after spending so much time among elders, and specifically elders of our clan. But your condition led me to believe that you dabbled in aspects of our nature that are not exactly common.
She'll smile. My sire was quite prolific in teaching me all aspects of our clan, Lord Orsini.
Yes, but there is one that sires rarely teach and children rarely learn.
I believe I know what you're referring to.
And Orsini extends a hand towards Irene, still looking at Celine. And if I may test your teaching,
I am not as experienced as you would be, Lord Orsini. I only am but a novice in terms of researching. More observing different rituals. I have not actually, well, how can I say, I was given this condition as part of my delving, and I have not delved since. But I am curious nonetheless. And she'll smile.
how about your childer?
She is novice in many things. Many things. And she'll say quite assuredly, looking at Irene.
And Orsini switches his head almost instantly, locking eyes with Irene. Tell me, child, what has your good sire taught you about the mystics?
Um, I mean, looks at Celine first.
Celine looks at her and like touches her face. She is not old enough yet to learn of the mystics. Still so young and so fresh. And she'll smile. Isn't that right, Irene?
Yes, my sire.
I was about as fresh as she was when I first heard about the mystics, though my sire was not interested enough in offering me a proper education. But still, the fact that some see this as a matter of shame to our clan is a grave error.
I have heard such similar things whispered among many of our clan, yes.
Because we do not follow the fates inscribed in their books, because we see beyond their masquerade of pretending to be something they are not. We are branded as infernalists and heretics and hunted, and our tried and true tradition of contacting the one who gave us the power of our blood is seen as heresy.
She'll nod. It is unusual for them to discredit all of the ways of the one.
If I may Begin a small lesson, Lady Alexandris.
Of course, I'm always eager to learn from one such as him. Offer such experimental knowledge.
And he takes a few steps back and looks at both of you. Well, ladies, there are some of our clan that dabbled in the mystic arts for not unlike the Semitsi or the Assamites or the Sethites. We have our own brand of blood magic. The term is inaccurate, but it's stuck, so I shall use it for the purpose of this little discourse. And he looks specifically at Irene. Our power, this talent, this that some have branded, a discipline of obtenebration, comes from something before the world as we know it came to be. Some, like myself, choose to tap into this power, gain its benefits, but pay its price. I'm sure you've heard, child, that some of us walk different paths after we become embraced. That humanity, though good enough for a mortal, does not fit the full extent of our condition.
Yes, my lord.
Well, the mystics, such as myself, walk a path called the road of the abyss. Tis a hard path to follow, but a rewarding one. I wish to offer no more than guidance. I ask for no more in return than help, should the two of you be interested. It is likely that you don't know that when it comes to the mystic arts, power comes in numbers.
She smiled, like touched along Irene's hand. And what of the others in the clan? I'm sure they will disapprove if they know we are all sitting in here talking of such things.
The others of the clan. You mean Ulrich? Or
Ulrich, the
Madeline?
senator. Or Madeline herself, yes. She smiled.
Yes. Well, allow me to offer you a small history lesson as well. I've just recently come back to the city. I'm not aware when you two ladies arrived. Probably a short time after I came. I left 3 years ago. Probably sooner. But still. Madeline, Ulrich, and I were the first to repopulate this city, the first of our clan, and we managed through careful management of the resources and the skills that come with our status to control this. I like to think the fact that Ulrich deals with the military matter, Madeline deals with socializing, and I deal with matters of the mind. Yet it has often made us have different views on matters. I have extended my invitation to any of the clan that wishes to learn. If they do not wish, I do not extend the same invitation twice. As for the seneschal, or primogen, shortly before you arrived, I had a meeting with him. There is a certain project, shall we say, that I had in mind, destined especially for those of a supernatural talent.
I see.
Irene would glance at Celine at that point. Just a short glance.
Just smile. As tempting as your offer is, Lord Orsini, myself, I prefer to work alone in my research. But that does not mean we cannot be very good allies. Just in terms of this, I have no interest. And she'll smile very evenly.
Orsini smiles back. I see. Do not take it as an insult. Your will is your will alone. I have promised the seneschal that I will not break the treaty, and I shall not force anyone to join me in this endeavor.
I am glad to see you are such a respectable gentleman, Lord Orsini. However, I do not wish you think my offer is an insult. Far from it. She just smiles.
I do not take it as an insult, but there is one thing that I would recommend you to meditate upon. Year after year after the Tremere came to the city, they wanted to create a monopoly of magic. I am sure that even if I may be one of the first to speak against it, I'm not the only one that is unnerved by the fact that they wish to be considered the only clan with such talents. Therefore, I recommend members of any clan who have innate talent in their respective fields to aid me in proving the Tremere wrong. We cannot be equal as clans if they brag with skills that were not theirs in the first place. They are a young clan, and they are a low clan, and such it shall remain.
The Tremere is something we would both agree on, Lord Orsini. I have no intention of letting them rise at all. In any fashion, she says quite firmly.
Then this is where my offer stands. The Shimizi have their sorcery. The Assamites have their own. The Sedites have their own. And this is what we have. We have the ability to tap into powers that make other kindred fear what should be the last thing that brings them comfort in this world, which is the darkness of the night.
It is tempting, Lord Orsini, I will not lie, but myself, I have no interest. And I mean that genuinely. And she'll smile again.
I see. Perhaps you are scared of the repercussions, Lady Alexandress.
You smile, Luke, laughing. No, Lord Orsini, I am not scared of repercussion. I have simply no desire for that. I use my methods far differently. And she smiled.
I see. Perhaps if you say you dabbled, something you saw made you turn your back forever.
That, Lord Orsini, is a secret that I don't think you are quite privy to just yet. And she'll wink.
Nor do I wish to. The abyss has enough room for all its children. And sooner or later, everyone who's dabbled turns back.
She smiled.
And when you do, we shall be here waiting. As far as research goes, I have a couple of books. I brought back a couple of books from my travels. And I still keep contacts with the merchants. I can perhaps interest you in an agreement that should each of us find any manuscript or codex worthy of interest that further discusses our knowledge and condition, mayhaps we may share with each other in a mutually beneficial fashion.
That is acceptable. After all, further knowledge of such conditions is only serves both of our benefits. I would agree.
Orsini takes back his seat and he looks at the neonate. Perhaps you, child, would prove interested. And realizing what he almost did, he looks at Salim. I do believe that this question doesn't offend you, Lady Alexandris. After all, after you decide to release her, her will is her own.
Of course. No, it does not offend me. If Irene wishes to dabble and explore, she will be a free woman soon. And you smile over at Irene.
I do not wish to substitute your teachings, merely to complement them for the benefit of the clan.
You need not worry, Lord Orsini. You are doing no offense to me. And she smiled quite genuinely.
Out of character, at some point I'm gonna have to roll because I have a gut feeling you're bullshitting the hell out of me.
You can roll if you want. I will roll back.
Okay, let's do this.
All right.
Perception plus
Empathy.
Empathy, I believe.
Yes.
okay, and I do believe your willpower is the difficulty.
It's no, I think it's
Just standards.
minute sub. I think isn't it?
Yeah, it's just standard difficulty, but you have to match his successes on his manip sub.
Yeah, there we go.
Since if it's even, he's the defender.
That's
Or
five.
Celine is the defender.
That's 5 for out, Celine.
Jesus.
Okay, so standard difficulty.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Perception plus empathy. I hate this new dice roller.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
Successes.
5 from 8, so Celine just has that same rosy smile.
Okay, and if we're rolling, let's pull Orsini's sweet tongue out in a non-sexual fashion. Okay, let's try and convince little Miss Argelis.
Oh dear.
Perhaps first saying then rolling. Perhaps you, my child, wish to discover more about the nature of our arts. They have proven useful in a lot of cases for myself. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I was master of harpies without any harpies under me. Yet Ulrich always found my services more than sufficient. I have a way of knowing what happens in the city, and this is all because of my studies. So I shall ask you politely, once and only once, like I did your sire. And please do not feel obligated by her answer to give me the same one. And do not feel obligated to answer me instantly. Would you like to train and see? Double like your sire has. And this would be uh, manipulation, subterfuge.
That's lying. If you're
No,
trying to lie.
Probably charisma, I would say.
I would say charisma, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that'd be charisma. Yeah.
Like charisma subterfuge or charisma expression or charisma empathy if you're trying to.
no, charisma subterfuge because I'm sweet talking her.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be charisma subterfuge, I'd say, because you're trying to be a bit more.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Hmm?
I'd say that, yeah, totally charisma subterfuge.
I'll try and roll my perception empathy versus that. If I can. Whoa. There. But I have lesser dice because damn bloody nightmares.
You go first or I go first?
Oh, that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's kind of just whoever has the
If
most.
successes versus successes, so.
Yeah.
With these things.
Oh wow, I still get 3 successes.
Oh fuck. It's not a fudge.
I got.
It's not a botch. Yeah, you can pretty much figure out that Orsini is really like not actually coming up with these merits, but gravely exaggerating his abilities.
She'll smile very politely. My lord, as much as I am intrigued with your offer, I believe I am not ready at this time to even consider it. There is still so much I need to learn. I have taken my first steps into this world, but only the first. I would need more time. If I could come back on your offer and give you a final answer after appropriate time has passed, I would be very much in your debt.
Do not speak of that in the house of the merchant. As Orsini tries to crack a joke and break the almost palpable tension. I see. Well, my offer still stands until you decide to either accept it or refuse it wholeheartedly. You know where to find me.
Thank you for your kindness, sir.
As a gesture of goodwill, should you find yourselves too close to daylight to reach your havens, you will find a room here and food. Well, actually, sustenance uh, uh, for a night, for a day or two.
That is very hospitable of you, Lord Orsini. She will smile.
And also, Osam's men shall not give you trouble, and should push come to shove, they'll make sure you are undisturbed by the rabble.
A very generous and good, most humble offer of you, Lord Orsini. We will, if we are in dire straits, of course we will accept. And she will smile.
So, Lady Alexandris, if not curiosity for this noble art of ours, might I be so bold as to ask what brings you to Edessa?
Power. She simply replies, smiling.
You see, it is, after all, one of the great temptations of this unlife. And I can tell you from experience that it is more of a headache than most of us wish. I think Aldrich, our brother, is more than capable of proving me right in this matter. I always found that the position of our clan is in the shadows.
Of course. That is my intention. And I believe where you and I will become great allies, that we will not reveal ourselves to the likes of the Turnir and the others until it is far too late. And they do not realize what they have stepped into.
We could learn from the other clans. I have traveled much in the past century and learned from the other clans a lot. You'd be surprised, but tenants from their tried and true creeds work for us as well.
Nod. I would agree. But there is also a reminder they must have of who is really in control, or Orsini. In all things.
When the moment arrives and they find out who is in control, it means we did our job poorly.
And she gives a big, huge smile, like, yeah, like that was the right answer. Precisely.
We could learn from the Nosferatu as an example.
I believe so, yes. I have met with one of them, Duvan. Very informative.
Yes, they like to sell knowledge for coin and benefits. We like to use it. And they have the advantage that nobody knows how many of them are there in the city or in a room. It is that advantage that they took to heart from their clan. Because
And what? You go first. You go first. She was just gonna ask, what is your opinion of these Malkavians that I am seeing?
troubled minds and troubled souls, but they are useful. The ancient Greeks used to say that madness is the mark of prophets and wise men.
She nod. They also seem to have a great much connection, much like the Nosferatu from what I'm seeing.
Yes, but what the Nosferatu cannot use because of their broken faces, the Malkavians cannot use because of their broken minds.
Such a twisted harmony. It's almost poetic. You should smile.
Yes, almost. I have seen in my experience that old allies work best regardless of city and age. The Semiti have always proven honorable allies to our clan. The Gangro, the Uncouth, have proven mighty warriors like the Bruja.
Zimitsi, most assuredly, and Gangarel. I have not met them in the city yet, but I am very eager to. But the Zimitsi, they are a powerful force, which we must assuredly keep on our side.
Yes, probably most people now that the prince is back and the old faces of the city have rejoined will search for positions. I would advise you, out of experience, Lady Alexandris, avoid adding a title to your name. It attracts unkind looks.
It's a nod. Yes, they usually do. That is why I will not go for a title for a while. Until it is, well, too late. Just a smile.
Might I ask, Lady Alexandris, because you said you dabble and you dabble in the occult, what path have you chosen if the one of our clan is not to your liking?
She just smiles and kind of strokes her chin a bit for a second. That, well, a woman cannot reveal every secret. I'm sure as you who owns a brothel would know that. My dear Lord Orsini, perhaps you and I, in more private conversations, you might learn that about me.
Are you ashamed of confessing the errors of your youth in front of your child?
No, I merely enjoy the chase of knowledge as much as gaining it, Lord Orsini.
I see. But we have, like elders often do, have put a monopoly on this conversation, and I have not heard from your precocious child. By all means, speak, young one. Ask your questions, get your answers. Learn from another.
My Lord Orsini, I apologize for my silence.
There is no need to apologize, child. You are new to this world. For all you know, the person sitting in front of you could be as young as you or as old as the hills. I understand this silence. I used to revel in it once. You grow out of it, but it takes years.
I would not wish to intrude in a conversation of my elders. And the first impressions of Elysium, I have a lot to think about.
Yes, but thinking of Elysium is something you should do in your own time. You have a situation here. Consider this an, how do the scholars call it now? Ah, yes, an experiment you have in front of you. Another elder of your clan could be older or younger than your sire, who's willing to answer most, if not any, of your questions in a manner that you might find a different perspective on the matters that your sire taught you. Consider it a game between two old. And as he says this, he turns his look towards Celine. Foxes.
She'll smile. If you wish to ask any questions, Irene, do not be afraid of breaking courtesy. Lord Orsini is correct. It is always good to gain knowledge from different elders of our clan.
Yes, my lady.
We could either do this, and I could open my book of knowledge to you. We could perhaps turn it into, and he makes the medieval equivalent of air quotes, just so the players get it. Uh, Competition between two rival teachers, and see whether you have learned your lessons well.
Um, I am afraid right now there is not a question that pops up in my mind.
Orsini smiles.
Selena, she smiles.
All right, child. Then maybe I shall test the skill of your kind teacher. Tell me, child, why are we called La Sombra?
Because he is our father.
Of course, because of our eldest, and this is one of the names he took. I had the pleasure and the honor of being in the same room as him.
Her eyes grow considerably wider.
His
That must have been quite the experience.
If you feel scared. Meeting with the prince, imagine that I felt 100 times that when I met him. I've recently returned from the Castle of Shadows. I'm sure you've heard of it.
I have, but only in passing yet.
It is a castle in Sicily, as Jerusalem is holy to the Christians and Mecca is holy to the Muslims. So is the castle d'Ombro holy to the Sombra, regardless of their faiths or creeds. It is a castle in which our eldest reside. The pilgrimage to that castle, whether sooner or later, is a duty that all La Sombra must fulfill at least once. When they feel ready, spend some time there. It was, and Orsini almost burst into laughter. Enlightening. And you see him being almost proud of his little bad pun.
Celine will have the same smile. You know, it is very enlightening. She'll nod.
I will look forward to it with anticipation then. Pray tell, but what's our father like?
He's gotten to the point where he is no longer human. He is, if you would have it, force of nature, someone who's millennia old, someone who met Cain himself. He's the living embodiment of the tenets of our clan, of the abilities that we have. I'm sure you know of them by now. This disciplines, as some would call them, powers of the blood.
She nods. Thoughtful.
I'm sure you know what powers are, right?
The powers of our blood, you mean?
Yes.
Of course. Our strength, our persuasion, so to say, of the mind. And of course, most importantly, our connection with the shadows of this world and beyond.
And Dorsini slowly claps. Nicely worded.
Thank you, my lord. My sires taught me well.
Now, child, a more delicate question. Do you know what our words are? What our motto is? And what meaning it hides behind it?
I'm sure she'd know in character, but I don't know it out of character.
I've actually forgotten shit.
Give me a second.
Yeah, I
No, you,
cannot.
you know what? Fuck it. I'll roll with not knowing it at this point. You know. So her eyes grow kind of wide. She glances over to Celine, and then you can see her like cracking her brain, trying to rackle up the right memories and stay silent for a long time until finally she lowers her head in shame. I apologize, my lord, my lady. I know them by heart, but I'm afraid it's been a long night.
Celine takes a very measured breath, and he will turn very coldly and say, "In death I rise."
Morte ascendo. Indeed, through death I rise. I do believe I found a kink in your lessons, Lady Alexandris.
Not in my lessons, Lord Orsini, in her memory, he will say coldly, like, looking directly at the child. You know what I mean?
Cringes down even further.
Orsini pulls his chair closer and rests his elbows on the table, like trying to get close to the two of you. You need not be so harsh on the poor child. She met the prince. It is a baptism of fire for any of us. Our first Elysium, our first meeting with someone who, for all intents and purposes, could be older than our mortal line. Excuse her on my behalf for this small flaw.
She is excused, Lord Orsini. You may thank him, child, and she'll say very coldly, you know. He has been very gracious of a host.
Yes, my lady. And she'll actually stand, takes a step away from the chair, and will bow deeply. My Lord Orsini, I thank you for your patience with me, and I promise I will not embarrass our clan again.
First and foremost, you should consider yourself lucky that I discovered this, and not the prince, or the seneschal, or Ulrich. Second of all, regardless of your emotions, there are some things that you need to know by heart about our kind. Our words, our name, our powers are things that should be as close to your heart as your name.
Yes, my lord.
But
Thank you
do
for
not
your lesson.
spare me the formalities, child. I'm not here to test if you do your courtesies right or use the right title with the right kind of noble. I left my home country for this. I do not wish to be reminded.
I apologize, my lord.
Indeed, we bear our name from our father, and we bear our name because we are the masters of shadows, shadows beyond. This fact that you mentioned, this wording of the shadows beyond, is why I asked your sir to excuse you, for most of our Nyani surprisingly consider the shadows that we wield effects of objects that block the light, not the will of the abyss. Our words are indeed, through death I rise, because most of us come from noble lines, from great houses. I'm sure members of my immortal family now battle somewhere in Venice for the right to kiss the hand of the right lord or pope, but I digress. Our skills as nobles are refined after we are silent. We become paragons of the virtue we choose to keep closest to heart. Ulrich decided that honor is closest to his heart, hence he is the knight you saw before you. Our primogen, myself, your sire. We chose wisdom, yet we are paragons of different types. He says that with a small smile of wisdom, but wisdom nonetheless. A sharp mind and a sharp tongue are the weapons of La Sombra.
Yes, my lord.
As far as our abilities go, yes. The bending of shadows to our will. The discipline of obtenebration. Useful, powerful, and intrinsically tied to our nature. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that members of other clans can teach each other discipline and skills via sharing vitae. If there's one thing that you learn from me on this night is that you will never teach anyone who is not of the blood the noble art of obtenebration. Sure, bargain with the skill to bend the minds of men, bargain by all means to get what you need. We all know that the Toreador have their skills that we could use, or the Gangrel, the Semitsi, though they seldomly share. Use that as a bargaining chip, but never desecrate the wonderful gift that we have brought. As far as potent strength of arms and legs goes, most of us develop it naturally after a while, regardless of our clan. It is an asset for warriors, not for scholars. Unless we're talking about carrying really heavy books.
Yes, my lord.
Lady Alexandris, why this silence?
I am not willing to interrupt the lesson, Lord Orsini. After all, you are giving my child a reminder of what she should have known already. If you smile.
I'm afraid that some of these things, some of us learn through experience, regardless of how well we're taught.
I would agree.
Though there's a fine line between a mistake, a breach of etiquette, a breach of the traditions, and the mortal sin.
Precisely. It is not a mistake. It was merely a mistake. One that can be easily rectified based on experience. And she'll, nod.
How long ago were you, sire, child, if I may?
Not but a month ago, my lord.
A month ago.
Yes, my lord.
I see. Well, then excuse my harshness, dear Lady Argyris. One as young as yourself, I do honestly and wholeheartedly applaud your efforts. Most of the ones I know spent years in training, not even seeing the outside world. My children spent years as ghouls around me, and years in training after they were sired. And yet they are not perfect, and neither of us is. But it is only then that I trusted them with the gift of the embrace. Means your sire, regardless of the harshness of her methods, holds you in high regard.
My Lady Alexandris has been a very good teacher. And my lack of answers does not fall upon her in any way. I can only apologize for my mind right now, as it is tired. It is not due to her methods that I failed.
You are still young, still warm, still have the blush of life in your cheeks. Emotions are strong, and they best not be rattled in one so young. Blood needs time to settle after an embrace. Takes months, perhaps years. I'm sure that when you will be ready and released by your sire, you should make the clan proud like most of us. Like all of us, actually. We pride ourselves with the best and brightest. It is not my fault that the other clans were found lacking when the call for a prince was made. I'm sure the Ventru still have nightmares about overtaking the throne, but still, I have turned old and nostalgic over the years. Should you ever find need of wisdom or a place to train your abilities, feel free to come here. Punching doors and bending the minds of mortals can be done anywhere in the city. Though a lady so young and graceful as yourself, throwing ruffians across the street would raise the odd eyebrow. But when it comes to bending shadows, it is best to be tried in a safe environment. I have an ample courtyard, a private one. Should any of you decide to stretch your muscles, so to speak, let me know and I shall make proper preparations.
With my sire's permission, I would gladly accept your offer, my lord.
Well, my ladies, it has been a most pleasant conversation. I beseech you, if you have any other questions, ask them so we might end our little conversation. Unfortunately, the work of a merchant is never done.
I think I have. I think this conversation is possibly suited to end now, Rhoda Simi. She'll smile, standing up, bowing, and look to her child.
She was still standing. She hadn't sit down after her apologies.
I thank you for your hospitality, Lord Simi. It has been most gracious.
And Orsini stands up and hand, reaches his hand in a coin purse and produces two. You might recognize them as being florins, Italian coins, but they're faceless. Hands one to each of you. Next time you come through the back door. Show these to the man guarding it. They should lead you to this room without having to deal with Tarhaban.
She'll take one, nod in appreciation.
Orsini walks you out through a different corridor that leads to said back door. He takes a deep bow. My ladies, your company is always a pleasure.
As is yours, Lord Orsini. And she'll
I,
smile.
I bid you a good night, and may the shadows watch over you. He takes you
Nod.
out to one of the alleys, the back alleys, and closes the door behind him.
Yeah, and Celine will, once he's out into the alleyway, she will turn and look at the child. And take her hand and she'll feel the squeeze. Home. Now.
And Irene will simply nod. Her head still low, even her shoulders hanging a little bit.
And Celine will hiss, walk straight. You may hunt when you arrive at my door.
Shoot up immediately. And the pair will
Yeah.
walk off.
Yep.
And with that, we can end this scene. Thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And good night.